you ever had a project that just goes haywire? I'm thinking that some of you have probably gone through a project that wasn't going very well at some point. That's how this painting was for me. Ink that dripped all over the place, problems with my paper, problems with lighting. It seemed like at some points I was going to have to give it up. It was kind of a tricky one, and I feel like I worked through it and pulled it off. Here's to all of you working through tricky parts of your art, tricky parts of whatever kind of projects you're going through or life stuff you're going through. Keep working at it, and you might just pull it off. Enjoy the story and the art. The numb years had been long. She vaguely remembered the endless days filled with little experiments to try and trigger a sensation. Any sensation. She tried pinpricks and speeding, risk after risk. Food had no taste, surroundings had no scent. A slammed finger was simply lifted to the eyes for examination. Years of riding the same roller coaster over and over, motionless, with no expression, staring straight ahead, silent. She did, however, remember the day it lifted. The car horn blared and she turned her face into the blinding headlights. Her upper body twisted and her palms caught the shining black hood as the car screeched to a halt. She looked down to where the car's grill rested against her knees, and then it happened. Her nose caught a scent. It was so pungent, she vomited violently all over the right fender, and she collapsed against the bumper. Hollow shouting and sirens swirled as she rested her head and closed her eyes. She awoke stiff in the hospital bed, in the room with sick green walls. The color was overwhelming. She felt it in her stomach. She heard it as ringing in her ears. It looked like what cold and damp would be as a color. Her body felt cold and damp. Felt cold and damp. She sat upright with such a start, the IV caught on the bed rail and she howled at the pinch she felt. She felt. What had happened? She quickly went back and revisited the events of the previous night. Stepping into the street, the headlights, the horn blaring. The car hadn't hit her, so why was she here? She remembered the vomiting. What had made her sick? That smell. It came back to her. The green in this room was that smell. Before the dizziness took her out of consciousness, she had laid her head against the grill of the black car. In the grill, some animal had been embedded, struck at some earlier time. All that was left now were feathers. Clumps and wads of feathers. Tangled, matted, and twisted throughout the grill. She saw them just before her eyes closed, saw them glint and shine. Sharp. She yanked the thin white sheet off her legs, and there they were. Tiny little cuts covered her shins, knees, and thighs. Stinging. Where her body had made contact with this mass of feathers as she slid to the pavement in front of the stopped car. Feathers. Shards of feathers. The cuts on her legs stung and smarted. Since that day, every smell is a color. Every sound is a flavor. Since that day, she had finally felt.